Alright, come there are a bunch of viewers on. So I think we can start this whole thing. Yeah, so Vicky Tejas are some of my really good friends, and they made this song and they asked me to produce it, and this is what it ended up being like. So yeah, so their style, if you look into their music, the music is super like acoustic driven, like extremely like soft and very nice, and like ekdam, you know, soulful and very subtle and very laid back and all the adjectives. So when they came up with this song, they wanted to do something extremely quirky, like extremely different, and I mean, I was a little scared in the beginning that okay, this will change their sound completely and stuff like that. So what ended up happening was that we took the risk, and we ended up, going with it and making it into a completely different sort of a track than they normally do. So the first thing that they when they came here, we recorded this scratch vocal. Like right now, it's called main vox, but it's supposed to be a dummy vox. This is what I got from them. So basically, this is what we recorded at home, like just as a scratch track. This is what it sounds like.
भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए.
We've heard the song. Like I should actually play you the song, right? I'll play you a little bit of the song with the final vocals that come in. So this is the basic vibe of the song. I think I should play it.
आज की ताज़ा खबर, देश खतरे में.
Hey guys, whoever's joining on Instagram,
भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए.
guys, whoever's watching on Instagram, please head over to my YouTube channel. That's where the actual audio will come. You will hear nothing here. It's just my face, my pretty face. So head over to the YouTube channel and then maybe you'll know. So I'm going off from this thing. The link to my YouTube channel is in my bio. So you might as well check it out. Hang on and maybe check out the stream. Alright. Yeah, so I play a little bit again.
भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए. भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए. अब जाने कैसी होगी ये नहीं आ पा.
So that's the basic idea of the song. So guys, whoever's texting on Instagram, please go to my YouTube channel and watch the stream there, please. This is the first time I'm doing. I couldn't get a camera in time and like I couldn't fix this whole thing. But the link to the Instagram through the YouTube channel is in my Instagram bio. My it's just one click away from where you are right now. So just check it out and tune in. Alright, so as I said, like Vicky Tejas, these singer-songwriters, independent singer-songwriters who write some really ambient, soft, very acoustic-driven music. And when they came up with this song, they wanted to do something extremely quirky and something totally different from what they normally do. So they came up to an idea that I could maybe produce it. So I was like, okay. And I had done the acoustic guitar sort of a sound a lot, and this song we tried to do a few things around. We tried to make a funkier version. We tried to make like something very, mostly acoustic, like organic instruments and like actual things that make sound, like no softwares. So we tried that and didn't really vibe with it. And then eventually I was like, okay, give me some time, and then maybe I can check it out and eventually figure things. Hey Sai, glad to have you here. So we'll start with what we recorded at home. So all of this, like all the dummy stuff that has happened, his voice and everything, was recorded at home. So this was the whole this was the scratch vocal that we recorded. I'll just play you.
भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए, अब जाने कैसी होगी ये नैया पार.
So this is the scratch vocal that we recorded, and I worked off this. So the first thing that I'd like to address is in this song. Now, if you see my session, it's a pretty simple and a very like compact session. Like there's not many things happening. There's not much. It's just whatever complicated stuff is there. It's pretty simple. So I'll just break it down for you guys. The first thing that I came up with, like the first actual thing, was these 4 bars. Like these 4 bars were the first idea that I came along with. So this is an 808 that I made. So this is a patch from Anna too. I tweaked it a little bit. I think it's one of their 808 patches, but I tweaked it a little bit and made it into this like really fat sounding bass. Essentially an 808. So that was the first thing that I came along with. So this aspect was, this aspect was the one that took me the longest amount of time, because to crack this one thing that guides everything else, and things, you expect things to fall into place. So that's what I was doing here. So this was the first thing that I made, and then I just layered it with another bass which sounds like this is a patch from Isotope Iris. I didn't tweak this at all. This is just like a normal ass patch from Isotope Iris. So when these 2 basses come in together, that's what makes that fat sound. So this bass line is everything. Like there's everything else that is just like, it's just decoration on top of this. That was the whole idea that I had in mind. There has to be like some sort of driving factor, and everything else just revolves around it. And then eventually another aspect of this, there's not many harmony elements in this. Like there are not many chords, there are not many like elements which actually make which add so much harmonic context to it. Very rarely there comes like a proper chord when that's when okay, here's a big chord which everyone will play. So that's not what happens in here. So hey guys, people watching on my Instagram, please tune into my YouTube channel. The link is in my bio. Please tune in. Drop me a comment in the chat so that I'll know that you're here. Thank you. So this is the bass, and then eventually I started layering a lot of percussion and a lot of drums. So the first thing I layered on the top of this bass line was this rim that. So this basically was, so all the percussion and mostly all of the drums that I used in this is from Splice. Like there's this pack by the name of Murda, by this producer named Murda. So he makes amazing samples for Splice basically. So he's like a very acclaimed producer. He's basically a trap and drill producer. So I had this whole hip hop sort of a scene happening like when I envisioned this song. So I really wanted to do some sort of like boom bap sort of a vibe to this. But eventually it ended up being what it is. Like it's a little like a mix of trap, boom bap, hip hop, and everything else that there is. So the drums, all the samples that I used are from Murda Beats samples. So I'll show you some of my all the samples that I use. So there's this Murda Beats quarantine kit of Splice. So all the amazing sounds that that you hear on the drums are these. Of course, I process them later. But yeah, so all the rims, all the claps, the kicks, and everything, mostly out of Moda. There are some exceptions, but mostly it's out of that. So yeah, then I added all these things. I just started layering them. So let's just go in order of importance. So the first thing was the rim that I added. Then maybe I added a kick. Simple, very simple, like just. Then eventually I added this clap just to make it a little fatter. Then this rim comes in, which adds a bit of groove. All these things. So what I do is I load these loops inside of the Logic sampler, and then I can just play them. Right? So basically, for this rim, this percussion, I use this part of the loop. Yo, Suri, how are you, man? Good stuff. So hold up. Sai says, did the video suddenly go blurred? It looks fine on my end. I'm not sure. I think it looks fine. Just hang on, it'll be nice. Yeah, so this is the clap that I made out of the sample. And all these samples, so there's this workflow that most people adopt. Like most people like to, open their sample library, like whatever that there is. Like for example, go into their this Murda Beats quarantine kit. They'll go here, and then maybe if they like a kick, they'll just drag and drop it somewhere, in like an audio region or something, and then they'll work it with audio. So what I tend to do is I tend to use both these aspects. So I tend to put them in a sampler so that I can, mess around and like have some sort of processing basically on the main hits, like the kicks, hats, and the snares. The percussion and all the other additional ear candy stuff, I don't tend to put it in a sampler. So that's why you can see, like if I just like solo my drum bus, this is all the drums that come in. So what makes it interesting is all these are the hi-hats, again Murda hi-hats. Nothing fancy, just some trills here and there, that's all. Just hi-hat rolls. Then this is wide, we just keep the rim for reference. So what this does is basically a clap, and I reversed it, so it leads in nicely with the other stuff. So if you go to my drum bus and just listen to all these percussion sounds, like this is what makes all the difference, I think. So this is like a clock sound I took from somewhere, and then this is like a crash. This is some sort of gyro or something, like some sort of shaker, or like this Cuban gyro or whatever it's called. That, and there's this other wide clap. Hold up. Yeah. And all of you guys who are watching, who just tuned in, just go to my YouTube channel. The link is in my Instagram bio. I think that should help you out. Where were we again? Yeah. So yeah, this is the main groove that happens. All the additional percussion, that is what I think what makes largest amount of difference in this whole thing. Yeah, so the second most important thing is the taar that the song is called Bheje ke Taar, right? So I was like, I need some sort of tar in here. So I got this patch from Labs. This is like a free software from Spitfire Audio. I've been using it for a very long time. So this is like the mandolin patch from the Spitfire Audio Labs thingy. So I made this E minor sort of a vamp out of it. Let's just hear it with the rim. This is just an E minor and a B7 sort of a sound. So that's the tar in the Bheje, if you know what I mean. That, and then I layered it with this really subtle pad. Pretty subtle, like barely adds something. Yeah, so that is what this main section. This took me the longest amount of time. This took me a while to make, and then everything else just fell into place because this is the main idea of the song. And all these other ear candy stuff. So there's this sample.
Hot.
So this basically is like a girl saying this shit hot.
This shit hot. This shit hot.
So I put it in a sampler and just sampled it,
Hot. This
just chopped it up,
shit hot.
and then I used it in here. So the whole thing. And these are some like noise effects here and there, like some ear candy stuff. So the meat and potatoes of this song is literally the bass and the drums and the mandolin a tiny bit. So that's what we made, like as a basic idea, and then I just looped it around and then I did my tweaks. So when the song starts,
आज की ताज़ा खबर, देश खतरे में।
this is Vittal, अपना Vicky, saying,
आज की ताज़ा खबर, देश खतरे में।
we literally put this down like in a very last minute sort of a thing. He just sent me this audio over WhatsApp and then we just put it in. Guys, whoever's tuned in on the Instagram live thingy, please go to the link in my Instagram bio and join the YouTube chat. Please. Tejas says, the bass line solved the song for us. Yeah, man. That's what bass does to you. Bass. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's the first thing, and then I like to do this thing a lot. What I do is I always take some sort of vocal sample from the main vocal line itself, and I mangle it around, like just to make it interesting, just to get it into like the groove better. So this is basically Tejas's voice. So this is Bheje ke taar hil gaye, just that Bheje ke taar, those three words reversed. So when you hear it with the
ताज़ा खबर, देश खतरे में।
it enters a little better, I think. So all these things, and then eventually, so what I tend to do is I tend to put markers like everyone does. So my markers aren't named properly, but this was my idea. So if you can see here, you can see my markers a little better. These are the sections that I generally would like to work on, basically. So these sections, that's the basic structure of the song in my head. So that's the kind of vibe that I was going for. Guys, whoever's joined on the Instagram, please come on YouTube, please. The link is in my description. Oh no, bio. Yeah, description is on YouTube. Anyway, so I'm going off Instagram now, so I can be a little less flustered of this. It's like I'm doing this for the first time. So see you guys. How many viewers do we have on YouTube? YouTube's, wow, bunch of viewers. Yeah, not like millions, but yeah, a lot. So coming back, this is where the verse starts. So I was at this point I was working off the dummy track that they gave us. So the dummy track that we recorded at home in this room where I'm sitting right now. So
भेजे के
hold up. Yeah, so these original, like the real vocal, I'll mute like the main vocals.
भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए, भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए, अब जाने कैसी होगी ये नैया पार, आँखों में धूल जम गई.
The dummy vocals are atrocious. We'll just, because obviously he was singing on a click track and with no reference whatsoever. So it was just for an idea. Like that's what we normally do. Like we just record a scratch vocal and then eventually we go into the main vocals. So anyway, I'll just turn the vocals down a little bit so that I can speak over the things that are going on. So yeah.
भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए, अब जाने कैसी होगी ये नैया पार, आँखों में धूल जम गई, चलती गाड़ी ये थम गई, अब जाने कैसी होगी ये नैया पार.
So when it reaches this point in the song, this is where the groove slightly changes, and the biggest thing that most people ask me about this song is like, why does this groove so much? Like, why is this? It's a simple swung sort of a groove. Like when these hi-hats come in, this thing has got a groove. So whenever I make a song, you don't need to read this. Hold up. Anyway, so this is 16th swing B. So by 16th swing B, what I mean is the quantization that happens on my MIDI is like a 16 note swing B. So whatever that goes here, this is where the 16 note, this is what I'm talking about, the 16 note swing B. So later I changed it, like for some notes I must have changed it for like other aspects, but I'm not gonna touch it right now. It'll mess up the entire thing. But yeah, as long as I can remember, it's 16th swing B. So that is what gives it that groove, And mostly in trap music, there's no swing as such. I mean, like in boom bap and hip hop, there's a lot of swing, but like what I was trying to do was that I was trying to fuse these two things together. Like I wasn't trying to go for that really cliche trap sound where there's just like 808s and kicks and like hi-hat rolls and stuff. Like I wanted it to have a little more Indianness to it, like a little more quirkiness. That was my main agenda. Like before, I wanted to make something which reminds you of the right things but doesn't totally resemble it. So that was my basic premise when I did this. So when this thing comes in, like after the build up, when this part comes in, it totally changes the groove.
ये नैया पार, आँखों में धूल जम गई, चलती गाड़ी ये थम गई, अब जाने कैसी होगी ये नैया पार. भीख पैसा देख तमाशा, झूठी बोली झूठी भाषा, चांदी सोना जादू टोना, पल में पाना पल में होना.
Basically that's where the bass line changes into like a different sort of, if I just solo the drums and the bass, that's where this thing comes in. That's where this is the point of the song where the bass line, the main dong, that thing breaks down for the first time. And this song is like really simple in terms of harmony. Like there's nothing fancy going on, no fancy jazz chords, nothing of that sort. Just simple, effective things which create an impact, So even if you see, so yeah, I'll solo the drums as well with this. This is where where the open hats kick in, and all these other things that are entering. So all the extra hats that are coming in. So these are the trappy hats that were there earlier on, as I played them to you. These were the earlier hats, and then eventually I added some normal acoustic hats, so which are from Simple Logic Kit, this stuff. And I tend to saturate my hats a lot. This is another free plugin that I use a lot. It's the soft tube saturation knob. So basically when I saturate those hats, they cut through in those trappy sort of drums. So that, and yeah, I mean that's about it. That's the only change that happens in this section. There's some crashes, there's some reverse crashes to just, and then there's this chick who sings hot all the time.
Hot.
All these things. And another thing that I did was I sampled Tejas's voice and made it into this, the word Taar, I sampled that and I made it into this. Just to add, it doesn't quite make sense, but it adds to the entire picture. So it's this green thing, that's pretty much there with every 2 bars.
कितने किरदार मिल गए
So that's the kind of, so I was basically filling in on all the blanks that I could find. Like I just wanted to keep it full but have enough texture for the listener to, get a little, curious to, okay, where is this coming from? Okay, what was that? It's a very engaging, very dramatic sort of a sound, I think. So, I mean, that was my intention. I think it went in a similar direction. There were certain things that it didn't work out for me, like what I intended them to be, but they sounded great nonetheless. So basically, all these things are the culmination of whatever is coming in together, like all the synths and all the taars and all the drums and whatever that there is. It's pretty simple, just 4 basic elements. So if you see my buses, it's just like drum, bass, synth, guitar. By guitar I mean mandolin. So this comes from my template, so that is why it's called other things. But it's just 4 basic layers which just meld into each other. They are extremely they fill into each other's fill into what would you call it? Like, fill into each other's gaps or whatever, like, for lack of a better word. Can't really think much right now. I just had a lot of lunch and it makes me super sleepy and like extremely slow. Emphasis on the word slow. So yeah, then eventually when this section ends, then we go into like a different sort of a, again the strings that you hear over here are from Labs again. So I've automated like the cutoff points so that they don't decay into the gaps that come in, so that so by these dramatic gaps, I'll come to the reverbs and the delays later, but I wanted to make it extremely dramatic. Like it's just a sort of a, it's not exactly a song, it's like a statement. Like when he's not exactly singing it, he's saying things. It's somewhere between a rap and a song. So I mean, I wanted to make it as dramatic as possible because the vocals were extremely like straight and like they didn't have much dynamic range. Like there were no high parts or low parts. They were just like single, like dynamically constant parts. So I had to compensate with other things like these gaps or the grooves that change and things that change. So all these things. Yeah, then eventually this big gap that
Bheje ke taar hil gaye kitne kirdar mil gaye.
So this is where the rap section comes in. So do I have the rap? Yes, I have the rap. Yeah, so let me just like hold up. Let me just mute it first and then I'll just show it to you what it sounds like. So the first thing that when we were discussing this, like there was this huge gap in the song which we needed to fill up with something. So we had an idea, like a total brain fart, that we should put a rap over there. So what we did was that we kept on with the same bass and the drums that happened, just a little subtler. So yeah, I think this is it. So this is where the rap begins. Again, all these sound effects are there. This is where my hats come in. Essentially the same groove, just minus the hi-hats in the first section. Then even this mandolin thing is happening. This thing is the same exact copy paste of whatever there was earlier. There was this lead that happens. I've called it GTA lead over here. This is exactly like that GTA sort of is that GTA San Andreas sort of a sound. So basically I wanted to have that gangsta sort of a vibe, and it's a basic serum patch that I quickly made. Like this is like a saw with some filtering and like some mono legato and portamento. That, and just to keep it out of the way of the vocals, like the rap, I wanted it to pan around. So there's this plugin that I use called Pancake. It's a free plugin again. So it just pans your things around, you know, like this will go to the left and it'll go to the right. Simple stuff. So coming to the rap, there were so many iterations that we did for this rap because like we need to get it just right. So this is the main rap that happens. So this is the first.
अरे देख भाई, ऐसा है ना काम है ना पैसा है, जो ऐसा है कि देखा ऐरा गहरा वो भी मेरे जैसा है, उसका लफड़ा इसका जोर, जोर से बोल पोल खोल, जैसी दुनिया वैसी सोच, राउंड राउंड गोल गोल, इंटरनेट के कैदी सारे डिप्रेशन के मारे, सदियों से है भूख के प्यासे दिल अपने बेजाई गए, सोसाइटी को मारो गोली, ओपिनियन तू में डाल, खुद से अब तू कर सवाल है, चारों ओर मचा बवाल, तू ही साला मुजरिम है और तू ही साला कातिल, बिक गई है गवर्नमेंट और तू भी इनमें शामिल, तो देख भाई ऐसा है, शोर को इग्नोर कर.
Oh damn.
के बाहर 420 घर के अंदर.
So this upper layer is me doing my shit. Basically this is me.
देख भाई,
all this stuff that
गोल गोल,
all this stuff I just recorded quickly on top just to add. I was the hype man basically. So yeah, and this rap ended up being like pretty cool that way, because like earlier when we tried to do it, when these guys went to the studio and recorded it, it was pretty you know, see, it can't, a rapper needs to feel the swing like extremely tightly, like it has to be, it's a rhythm sort of a thing. It's called rhythm and poetry for a reason. So we wanted it to be extremely tight, so we ended up having a few versions of them. This is the one that made it. So in the initial bit, the vocals don't really follow the hi-hats, like the swing isn't followed like exactly cut to cut, ekdam full on tight as fuck. It's not followed like that, but in the rap we had to do that because that's the vibe. It's very rhythmic. So Tejas did a very good job, like you know, following it eventually. Like he understood it at some point and he just killed it. Like whatever these cuts are there for me, he pretty much did it in like one take. So basically this breakdown that happens is where the rap comes in, then the GTA sort of a sound.
वैसी सोच, राउंड राउंड गोल गोल, इंटरनेट के कैदी सारे डिप्रेशन के मारे, सदियों से है भूख के प्यासे दिल अपने बेजाई गए, सोसाइटी को मारो गोली, ओपिनियन तू में डाल.
Hey Pratik, I'll show you all the effects in the end, yeah. So I'm just going through the arrangement, all the stuff first, and then I'll go to my mixing, like all my mix stuff and my routing and everything else. So it's mainly pretty simple, but I'll get there. Like it's damn simple that way. Because like Asim did a great job at mixing this. I didn't have to do much. I just like did all the basic production sort of mixing that is absolutely needed, like all the cleaning up and stuff. But mostly, like, Asim did a great job. So yeah, after this section again,
उसके चक्कर में
if you heard me cough, that was a fake cough by me.
उसके
Sustain I'll tell you. So yeah,
उसके चक्कर में ना पड़ तू, रोएगा पछताएगा, फिर पासी किस
now here's where I am implying things. You know, there are more layers. I wanted to fill it up. I wanted to, you know, have more harmonic information, especially in the part that comes later, in 4 bars later. So, and here there's this acoustic drum sort of a sound.
फिर पासी किस्मत हमारा, धोखे ही तू खाएगा, होटल का खर्चा ना हो, घर पे कोई चर्चा ना हो, अब जाने कैसी होगी ये नैया पार.
Let's just break this down. So, the first thing, again, let's start from the 808s. That's where the drums come in. This is the same thing again. Then I added some drums in here. This is like stock Logic kit. I think it's called a Smash kit. But like, even if these being like stock sounds, I process them a lot. I'll show you my processing eventually, like why they sound the way they do, and they why do they cut through, and like why do they sound a little you know, more aggressive than they are meant to be. So this and all my other elements, I muted some of them. The rim always stays, the clap I think I muted it, the shaker stays, then the kick, obviously it's not as busy as the other kick. I think the kick is just as busy. There are a lot of toms. And these percussion things keep happening. All of these things are there anyway. So I just muted some of them, and then whatever gaps that there were, I filled it up with the toms and the other stuff that happens in the Smash kit from Logic. So that, and the mandolin keeps happening. And what else is there? Yeah. Later on, I am basically a guitar player. Okay, so I hadn't played a single note of guitar till this point, and then I saw this opportunity where, you know, it goes into this really dramatic sort of a part where there is sort of an explosion. So so what I did was, I first programmed these drums a little bit, like. So what I did was, I took the shells from this kit, and the cymbals I need to process them differently, because there was some problem with it. I don't remember. I EQ'd the fuck out of it, but yeah. Yeah, I boosted a bunch of highs and like some plates and stuff. So yeah, so I wanted the cymbals to be a little more saturated. That is why I put them in a different track, and then, because without the saturation, I think they won't cut through. I mean, obviously there's a like level change also, but I mean, I wanted them to be crunchy. I like my cymbals and I like my hats. Basically, all my cymbals, like all the cymbals that there are, I like them crunchy, because especially in this song where it's super aggressive, like it needs to be there needs to be excitement, because normally when the kits that Logic comes in with, like, they're pretty mellow and they're pretty, you know, vanilla sounding. So I wanted to make them aggressive, and eventually I ended up doing a lot of processing. Like, if you see my drum bus, I'll get to my buses later, but like there's a lot of processing happening. Like, these samples sound very different just by themselves. Like, there is a lot of things that go behind them. So yeah, so the cymbals are here, the rim stays the same, and then there is this what is this? This is just like a bass sort of a thing. So this is where I'm actually implying some chords like E, then D, like B, C sharp over B and stuff like that. So then the first guitar layer that I actually played on this song was this. So if I play this with the drums, so this is what I came up with. So this was one layer, like double track left and right. Second layer was this. So basically I just did 2 octaves of the same thing, like basically some like thirds, basically nothing too fancy. And if you check it out with the vocals, it complements that whole thing really well. So this is the only part where I'm actually implying a harmony. Okay, this is what I want to really, these are the chords of the song, this is what I'm actually trying to imply. Because like all the other parts of this song, there's not much harmony happening, because I mean, it's more of an atonal sort of a thing. It's in E minor and then there's a third over there and stuff, but still there is not much happening in terms of the changes. Like I wasn't going in for that whole sound where there are like the legit chord changes happening. It's more of a loopy sort of a situation. So I usually I am a sucker for chords. I love my chords, but in this situation I didn't really like go for it. But this section I couldn't really resist, like I couldn't help it. So if you see if I play the drums, bass and the guitars, this is what it sounds like. So these are my drums, these are my guitars, and maybe we'll play this bass. So again, the 808 is doing like, it's working on half the time. Like this is like 8 notes and the 808 is on quarter notes. So yeah. So that's that section. Basically that's where the chords come in. Then again we go back to this whole situation where there are no chords as such. So the mandolins have a layer over here, just like the earlier bit, like similar layer over here. It's the same patch, I just wanted to process it differently because I panned it to the right and the other mandolins is in the center. So that's why there are 2 layers. Yeah, and then so this brass situation, like the brass enters. Oh, I forgot to show it in the beginning. So this is the brass patch that I was using. Is again a synthesized patch. Oh, sorry. It's like an Anna 2 patch that I made. I think it's called Bad Boy Brass from I don't know where, but yeah. So I was going for a quintessential like synthetic brass sort of a sound, like a brass stab sort of a sound. So Anna 2 has to be my favorite synth. Like all the stuff on this song, especially the basses, like it's all Anna 2. There's one instance of Serum somewhere, and Labs, of course. Like Labs, I can't live without. Labs is one of my favorites of all time. But like this song is mostly made from Anna 2. And whatever the samples are there's from Murda Quarantine Kit, I think. So that's the only thing that there's no like crate digging happening. Like there's not much of sample sample searching or like sort of scene happening. So yeah, that even then when the strings come in here, so yeah, I couldn't resist. I had to put in some chords. Like I had to. It's like the end of the song. I need to put my chords. So again, these are some strings that I put. Notice that they cut very abruptly over here. Like if you notice, because like I automated everything to cut in this gap. So I think all my synths, yeah. So this is where all the stuff gets cut in just for the dramatic effect. Bheje ke taar hil gaye, kitne kirdar mil gaye, bheje ke taar hil gaye. Just pretty much the end of the song. I mean, that's what it is. Now let's just go to like the small nitpicky details that make it super interesting. So all the percussion elements, as I mentioned earlier, are extremely important to the process, because if I mute these percussions, they make the groove very bland. I'm gonna add these things. So all these things are super necessary to make that groove happen. So I mean, that was one of the main parts, like one of the more time consuming parts that I had to come up with, because like, so I am not that good at programming. Like, I wasn't very good like at programming drums, and eventually I worked on it a lot, because I mean, I wasn't that great. Like, I used to program really simple, very predictable beats, and then I started sampling a lot. Like, at some point I just started putting, so I am a sucker for Foley sounds. Like, I take sounds from like various things, like like garbage cans and like bottles and like whatever random stuff that I put in. Clocks. So in this case, there's a clock in here. I think this is so this is a clock. This is some sort of wood block. So I tend to take these sounds which make it interesting. So in this song, I think I didn't feel the need to put in even more. Usually, like, there's more. All the yellow things that you see are all drums. All the brown stuff that you see are all basses. All the green stuff that you see are all synths. All the pink stuff that you see are all vocals. All the blue stuff that you see are all guitars. And all the purple stuff that you see, purple and magenta, they're all vocal chops and samples. So pretty simple session. Like, there's not much happening. Like, it just looks very complicated, but it's just like a lot of tracks. It could have been put into a drum rack and could have been like, there will be 30 tracks lesser from this. Pretty simple. There's nothing super complicated happening. Now let's go to routing. So what I do is, like, let's just solo my drum bass. Routing and mixing, mastering. So yeah, so on my drum bus, there's a bunch of SSL style compression, barely like a dB of, just to catch the peaks, to make it like super uniform. And then I put this plugin called Pulsar Smasher. It's basically a parallel compressor, so it's meant for that parallel sort of an aggressive sound. So I wanted it to be super aggressive. Like, I wanted the drums to sound extremely aggressive and extremely like over the top and like super punchy. So I'll just show you what this does. So the mix is really low right now. It's on 23%. So if I crank this, so this is what it's actually doing. Compressing the living daylight out of it. So that adds to that sticky sort of a flavor, like the sticky sort of a vibe. So then when you add the bass to it, I don't remember what I did to my bass. These are all the effects that I turned off before I sent it to mix. If I turn it, so I cut off some of the highs and I cut off some of the lows. I don't know why I did this, but yeah. Then there's virtual mix rack, some compression, just to catch the peaks, nothing fancy. And then there's some drive from IVGI2. So this is another free plugin that I use to drive my basses especially. So if this is what it's doing, very subtly. Then come the synths. There's not much happening on the synths, to be very frank. By synths I mean all the harmonic elements, like whatever is playing some sense of a chord. So I've boosted a bunch of 4K, like in here, for like 1K to 10K. I've boosted a lot just for it to be that present sort of a sound. And then there's some more boosting happening. Then this is going to my reverb. So I have 3 kinds of reverbs usually all set up in my template. So this is going to my medium verb, which is Verb Suite Classics. I think this is the FG 2016 model of the reverb, which is basically like a room sort of a sound. So it's going to that, and then it's going to a delay, which is like a DM2 sort of a delay, like a digital sort of a delay. And then I have this pad, which is again like a serum pad that I made. Like a serum. I think this is some patch that I loaded. I just needed something extremely simple. Again, this is going to my medium reverb, which is Verb Suite. So what else? All these things. Let's just study the drums one by one. I don't remember what have I done. So again, this drum kit that I was talking about, the acoustic drum kit, which we'll come to later. Let me just check what is happening. So yeah, this is one cool thing that I tend to do a lot. Like once I sample a kick, like this is the kick that I sampled. First of all, I try to get it on a single. I don't change the pitch of it. Like the key tracking I turn off, and then I make it into mono. Mono as in no polyphony. So it's just one kick that happens. And then I cut off some of the subs because I wanted the bass to, kind of rule that sub wala territory. And then I tend to put my kicks in mono all the time. So if this kick for some reason was not a little leaning to the right, if you see my meter, it's leaning to the right a little bit, and you can hear it on the right a little bit. So I monoed it with the stock Logic gain plugin. So then it was like dead center. So that was my kick. My hi-hat was also again like this. So for the hi-hats, I put my key tracking on so that I can create those hi-hat rolls. Like, so if you see, so then this is one pitch and this is another pitch. So to create those hi-hat rolls, I tend to keep them on a different pitch. The percussions have not much processing. There's just barely those samples. The crashes, they're going to my reverbs just for additional emphasis. It's also going on my reverbs. Like it's just one reverb. I didn't really put much on the, because this is fairly dry. The arrangement is fairly dry. There's not much happening. Also, what else? Oh, I forgot to tell you what I used for guitars because I ran through it. So basically, this is one cool thing that I do for guitars. So let's just see this bit. So it's basically it's like a software style guitar amp. So this is my favorite guitar amp simulation of all time. I've used it like almost all of the last 3 years exclusively. Like Bias Amp 2 is my favorite guitar plugin, like ever, guitar amp simulation plugin. Like I've got a bunch of others, but like I always come back to this. Like I know there are only 2 amps that I tend to use, like the British Plexi 50 watt and the Fenders, like the Blackface Vibrolux. So that's what I end up using like on everything that I do, like almost everything that I do. So essentially this is a sort of crunchy driven sound, and I've EQ'd a bunch out of it. Like a bunch, by a bunch I mean just the honky lows that really mess with the bass, and I always cut down the highs on my guitar amps, like because of that they become there's no hiss. These amp simulators, they end up having a lot of hiss at times, so I always tend to roll off some of the highs, so they become like extremely smooth and they fit well. So again, these are going to my reverbs and delays. Again, Verb Suite in the same room, reverb that I've put universally. I didn't put much effort into the whole reverbs and delays because I knew Asim was gonna put his flavor on it, so I didn't want to send him too many tracks, to mess around with and pick and choose and get a little more confused with this whole process. So that's where the guitars go, and like on the guitar bus there's nothing. There's this one EQ which I pasted on their own tracks for some reason. I don't remember why. That yeah, so those are the guitars. And what did I put on my... Yeah, so some of the drums are going to this plate reverb just to add some depth to their their sonic space and their sonic position. And what else? These are all part of my template. This is my old template which I used to just route everything. So what else is there? Let's just go through my vocal chain for fuck's sake. So what I tend to do is all my vocals, they go into a bus and I process the bus because I know when I'm sending the stems, generally now I know Asim, like I've worked with him a lot and he's great at what he does and everything. So I could send him like a very bare bones sort of a mix, and then he could take it from there. He could add his own creativity to it. So I didn't end up processing the vocals a lot. I just blindly put them in a bus, put some pitch correction on them, like some basic stuff, because I knew Asim was gonna do all of that. Again, I send him all the dry stems anyway. So I send that and then put my usual vocal chain on it, like this is virtual mix rack. So my vocal chain is pretty simple. Some saturation, like some highs are boosted, some lows are like some low cut. Then there's this Neve preamp emulation which makes the vocals a little fatter. Revival for added sheen and thickness, and more compression on the way out. Yeah, I mean that's about it. And then there's some EQ which I didn't touch at all. I just put it there. But yeah, that's about it. And then just to have some mix bus stuff happening, which I obviously bypassed on Asim's mix. When I send it to a mixing engineer, I always tend to bypass all the things that I send. So then there's some tape happening, virtual tape machines, which turned off for some reason. Then there's so this song I wanted to make it extremely aggressive. Like I wanted to drive the living hell out of it. So I put a very new compressor, basically a tube compressor, like a sort of a very aggressive style of compression. Basically, this is like the Slate Digital emulation of like of a Fairchild compressor. So this basically makes everything like punchier and like it drives it a little. There's more harmonics being added. There's more aggression being added. So if I bypass this, let's just play like some section which is super busy. Let's play this.
भेजे के तार हिल गए, कितने किरदार मिल गए, अब जाने कैसी हो.
It's extremely subtle, but it adds a lot to the harmonics that happen, because all the low end, when the even and odd harmonics are added to the low end, especially the 808s and the kicks, they tend to creep up in like the higher sorts of sections in the EQ. Like I mean, if you add this on your master bus, this is gonna add more excitement to it. What, like, by excitement I mean there's more 1K to 4K sort of range, sort of harmonics being added. So it makes it a little brighter. It makes it a little more exciting. Like that was my idea of, like, that was my reason why I put this there. And then I just put some EQ, but which I ended up bypassing because I had to send it to Asim. And then just basic limiting from Slate Digital. Nothing fancy happening, like just some gain happening. So yeah, that and nothing fancy. This is a fairly simple song, and it was done fairly quickly. Like, we ideated a little bit, we made some sections, and then eventually we went for it. Like, we didn't overthink about anything. We just, the only things that took a little while were the ideation for the parts, like the rap, for example. That's what took the most amount of time, because like there was a lot of ideas these guys had, and as a creative writer, this is the first song which they've made, which is so different from what they normally do. Like, it's extremely different from what they normally do. Like, it's literally, if you listen to the other, like all the other songs that they have, they are nothing like this, and we were a little scared. Like, I don't know about them, but I was extremely scared. Okay, you're changing your fundamental sound for one song, and like, how will people take it? But glad you guys received it really well. And mostly I was scared that people will say that, okay, just go to your old sound, like, why mess around with these other genres? And plus, these guys have a USP. Like, Vicky Tejas, as a duo, they write songs which are extremely meaningful and soulful and deep. This was a complete offbeat sort of a scene. Like, this was extremely different from their usual thought process and their usual क्या बोलते हैं उसको, मतलब like they don't write like this, and it's maybe they think like this, but they reserve these thoughts a lot. So I think this was like a great let out for them also, and then for their audience also to know, okay, these artists, these songs like these make the audience know that their artist a little better, I think. So this was a great experiment. I think it was, it went really well. I was surprised by the response that we got, like, because I was totally skeptical. I was like, you have a following who want you to play those songs where they are sitting, sipping a glass of wine and chilling, and this is like, this is something else altogether. So, but yeah, like they received it really well. All the following that they have and all the people that are associated, all the fans basically, they really received it well, and there's a lot of kind words that people have been telling me and asking me about this stuff. So yeah, that's how I made this song. Total kudos to Vicky and Tejas for letting me do this. I just wanted to do this. I just wanted to see, like, do people actually watch content like this? Do they want to watch more stuff like this? So I have a few viewers, so that's a great thing. I'll maybe continue doing this. Thank you for tuning in, and cheers. I think, like, share, subscribe. Like, damn, I've become like one of those guys. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Ending the stream now. Calling it off. Ciao.